Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Distil-Nation ANZAC podcast. My name is Tom. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Cameron and my other good friend Tynum. How you guys doing?
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah?
It's great to be back.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're just going to sip your coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. No, it has been a while. I think the last time we did this was actually New Year's Eve, and then we released them over a couple of months, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's good to get back and see you guys, and we usually see each other not all together. So yeah, it's nice to see you.
Yeah.
This weekend we're currently in ANZAC weekend, and we thought this is going to be a really appropriate time to chat about the new trading laws that came into effect 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
And just the ANZACs in general, and good spirits, and this is a sort of podcast where Cameron, you like to shine, you know.
Well, hey, so it was 2 years ago, and I did that episode about liquor licensing laws, and went into the anomaly of there's 3.5 days a year where you can't buy booze, and why is that, and looked into it, and who knew that 2 years later it was basically going to change.
Yeah, this kind of came out of the blue too. Like I just
really
kind of
did.
saw it on the day they were putting it through the last reading, and I was like,
because
"What's
it was done under urgency, wasn't it? And it was done by Kieran McAnulty, and who is in Labour, but he has been working away at it for the last couple of years, but it only kind of gathered traction with ANZAC Day. And who likes alcohol more than the people who actually voted to keep in alcohol in 1919?
Exactly. So this here ties into the episodes that we did about liquor licensing laws. It also ties into the history element of the ANZACs. But yes, so
Prohibition, that one.
It
yeah.
was brought in because we've just had the new Takaha Stadium open in town, and we will get into it. But one of the, I don't know if you guys remember when you were younger and pre-kids, going into town on the weekend around either, it was less ANZAC Day for me, but definitely more Easter, where you'd go out on a Thursday night, and then 11:59, lights come on, bang, like closed, out, you're done. And then, yeah, similarly, like Saturday night, you go out Saturday night, 11:59, lights come up, bars open, bars closed, you're out. Under these new laws, basically they're saying that you could close when you would normally close, even though this is going into a public holiday. So with the new stadium opening, we've got the game on the 24th, and people are going into town, and they're likely coming out of the rugby game, going into town, celebrating afterwards, and they didn't want it to be another case of 11:59, get out.
I was usually kicked out by that stage. Tom, you probably weren't even in New Zealand at that stage.
No, I don't think we really had these kinds of laws, to be honest. I can't recall of anything that ever
In your
stopped us.
university days.
Yeah, there was nothing around Easter and stuff that was like, oh, you can't go drink. Even Remembrance Day, November 11th, we didn't really have anything like that. So, yeah, this is a very New Zealand problem.
Like when my mum moved here from Australia in the early 80s, it was Monday to Friday was shopping, and the weekend everything was dead. But then it was 9 till 5. And the only one, funnily enough, the only one that operated outside of that was in your neck of the woods in
New Brighton, yeah.
New Brighton.
Yeah.
Had a Saturday market, and that was wild.
My parents talked about that as well, about what a difference that made.
See how small New Zealand was?
Yeah, I know. Like, let's go shopping on a Saturday. Oh my gosh, wow.
Right, so as you've mentioned, Ty, this is an amendment to the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act. It was a members' bill. So Kieran McAnulty, as you've said, he is in Labour, he's in opposition, but Parliament has a tin. They use an old-fashioned tin, and occasionally members, anybody in Parliament can put forward a bill about an issue that they care about. Every now and again, one gets drawn out and gets to go through the parliamentary process. So there were a couple of goals with this, and it basically, if we summarize it right down, it would allow premises that are already open on Good Friday, Easter Sunday, Anzac Day morning, and Christmas Day to sell alcohol under normal license conditions. So it doesn't impact bottle stores.
Right.
Bottle stores stay closed. Supermarkets stay closed. It was a really interesting argument that he made. They were looking into tweaking around with off licenses, and they figured, well, how could it be that the liquor stores closed, but somebody maybe on like an Uber Eats kind of situation could order something online and have it delivered, and when they realized that there was kind of opening up that loophole, they thought, no. So all off licenses, if you weren't open anyway, you're not going to be able to open.
Right.
But it works, especially on Anzac Day, because you just roll out of the pub and go straight to the dawn service. So.
I did think about that for like
You've got
the people.
2 children. You can't get away with it.
No, not for me. But just for like, I know for Christchurch, bars aren't open until 5 a.m. There might be other parts of the country where they are, but they're not here. But was thinking a wee bit of, how disruptive would it be if there were people rolling out of a bar at 5 a.m. to walk past a dawn service happening at 6? There's certainly some of the complaints that we get to here. I understand some of them and where they are coming from, for sure.
Well, especially if the pipe band drum major is still hammered from the night before walking.
Yeah, oh boy.
Because we certainly don't, on this podcast, we don't encourage getting overly drunk. That's not what we're here for. We're usually here to enjoy the spirit in a very well-mannered way, if you will.
The spirit of the spirit.
The spirit of the spirit, yeah.
I was mates with a guy, and he was Australian Army, and he...
Oh, they can drink.
He told me of one... so he was honour guard. So if you're going to a... Proper's not the right word. We went to the Burwood Anzac service yesterday. It was at 10 o'clock, and it was about 20 minutes. It was lovely, and it was local, but it was a very small community one. As opposed to if you go to a dawn service in Cathedral Square or at the Auckland War Museum or something like that, and you would typically have somebody from a branch of each services standing at attention for the whole thing. And this guy, his name was also Ty, by the way, an Australian named Ty. And he told me of one where he had basically rolled straight out of the pub into uniform, standing there, and he's like, hold it together, hold it together, hold it together. Was not in a good way, by all accounts. And I can't think of anything worse.
Yeah, especially, yeah.
No. So, everything. Bottle shops have to stay closed. Supermarket alcohol restrictions remain. What's interesting is that this came down to a conscience vote, which meant that, and there are very few other bills where it comes down to you don't have to vote along party lines. There's another bill coming up about online gambling, and that comes down to party vote. So parties are going to vote their own way. But why is it, again, when it comes down to alcohol, where the bill passed 66 votes to 56, but there were people in Labour who voted for and voted against, people in National who voted for and voted against, and a real mix of reasons for voting for, reasons for voting against. Really interestingly, all of New Zealand First and all of the Greens voted against. And it is very rare that you get New Zealand First and the Green Party aligned on anything.
That's really new coalition.
I mean, Winston has ruled out working with Labour. But
He doesn't have too many other choices.
So, what did Kieran say? He said, all we're talking about here is businesses that can already open. This is not expanding access to alcohol. We're only talking about those workers who are working anyway. This is not taking anything away from workers otherwise enjoyed a guaranteed day off. So, it's not drastically changing all that much, but as we talked about in our previous episode, there was a line in the previous act which said that if you were at a guest in a hotel and you go down because the hotel restaurant's going to be open because you don't have a kitchen, you go down to enjoy dinner, you want to have a glass of wine with your meal, want to have a beer with your meal, you must order, quote, a substantial meal.
Yes.
In order to have an alcoholic drink. And it came down to, there was one guy in New Zealand first who really said that's actually... Oh, no, sorry. Nationals Carl Bates opposed the legislation, saying that instead they should have clarified the definition of a substantial meal in the regulations. Now, I think that is way too granular for Parliament to be getting involved in.
Yeah.
Are you going to define that by calorie intake? Are you going to be counting the calories to say, no, that's only 120 calories, it doesn't count as a substantial meal? I think
Unless your BMI is over.
Exactly right. If we calculate your BMI to figure out, okay, if you weigh 70 kilos, you've got to order this. If you weigh 110, you have to have that. I think, no, I think Nationals Carl Bates there is absolutely missing the point.
I think
where do you draw the line?
I haven't even heard of him, so here we go.
Yeah. As you would expect, so the people who voted for are saying that it's better for hospitality, for the likes of RSA club rooms, who were jumping through hoops to get special licenses that would allow them to open, because, as you say, people might go to a dawn service or go to a later service and then want to be able to go straight into the RSA. They're now able to do that, and it's streamlining things for the RSA. So that's great on an ANZAC Day level, and for the restaurants and bars and other places, again, that are open already. This is not a case of bars having to be open or changing their opening hours. It's only the ones that are open anyway. So that was Kieran McAnulty's bill, and then Cameron Luxton said that he proposed an amendment there to make sure that those venues can continue to serve drinks past midnight the day before the holiday. And it was great that in his speech to Parliament, when you read the Hansard transcripts, he acknowledges the role that the Anzacs played in their vote in defeating prohibition 110 years earlier.
He didn't quote your podcast by any chance?
He did not, and you know what? I'm not surprised.
Oh well.
He quoted it, but not a direct reference.
If I really wanted to attribute something to myself.
Hansard does not recognise Cameron Taylor as
and the Distil-Nation NZ podcast. No. So people who are voting for, they're saying that it's easier for hospitality, it's better for hospitality, and it's not drastically changing anything. There's no extra businesses that are going to be open.
That's got to be better for the workers. Well, I mean, they're probably more used to this anyway, and
Well, realistically, it's the RSA's busiest day of the year, and heartbreakingly, a lot of them are closing down. Papa Nui closed down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the main, Papa Nui's gone, and that was always a good parade.
Yeah.
Always a good service there on Anzac Day.
The CBD one a few years ago.
Yeah, the CBD one again, that went under a while back.
Yeah. And we've got a kind of unofficial RSA up at the Valley Inn with the Heathcote Valley dawn service, which is the only other one in Christchurch. So that was where we went with our 3-month-old daughter. And
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Well done. That's, not easy to get kids up and organised. It was hard enough for me to get these ones to along to 10 o'clock at Bitterwood.
My great-grandfather never went to a any Anzac thing, and he was there from day one till the end at Gallipoli. refused to acknowledge it. So here we
wow.
go.
Yeah, fair enough.
But he would have been fine with the drinking, even though he was a surgeon. So.
Well, why?
Well, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Is this sort of singled out for only alcohol, or did they mention anything else? Is there anything else we can't do on these holidays? Like, can we gamble still, or can we, I don't know, buy smokes and stuff? Is this all?
Well, again, it's the shops that are already open. So, I mean, there was...
I mean, the RSA presumably have, like, slots and stuff, I imagine. And
Yeah, no, the Valley Inn definitely have...
but they can just do that anytime, is that right? It's not like a time thing or a date thing. I actually don't know that at all.
No, I mean, it's basically if it was open already. So
Yeah.
if you had slots in your bar, restaurant, hotel, and you were open on those days anyway, then... Yeah, I worked at a petrol station one Easter Sunday because petrol stations were open, and yeah, if you came in, there was nothing to say, it's Easter Sunday, you can only buy petrol. If they were buying smokes or anything else, then
Okay.
I would have served them on that day.
Yeah.
So what were the oppositions? There was one... Labour MP, Tyree MP Ingrid Leary, said basically this is it's tinkering around the edges. We need proper reform of the sale and supply of alcohol bill. So I'm voting against it because it doesn't go far enough.
Yeah.
Needs to do more. While the Greens and New Zealand First were united, they did have some very different reasons. Again, the Greens want a complete overhaul of the bill. They want to restrict more access. They pointed to Christchurch City Council's local alcohol policy as something closer to what they want in terms of fewer places selling alcohol for fewer hours and really restricting access there. Then, of course, you have New Zealand First. New Zealand First MP David Wilson said, a small degree of restriction for a few days to reinforce shared values and traditions is a very small price to pay. Okay. Will they, was New Zealand First again, Mark Patterson, will they vote to uphold their traditional New Zealand values, history and traditions? Will they respect our Christian heritage, sacred Christian celebrations of Christmas, Easter Sunday, Good Friday? Will they acknowledge the solemn commemoration of ANZAC morning, or will they sacrifice that heritage at the altar of consumerism and consumption? End quote.
And we have here branches of two denominations. We've got Tom as a Catholic and you as an Anglican, and me who was baptised Anglican, but... cheerful agnostic, but I could see you rolling your eyes at that.
Well, there's nothing in Christianity that says you can't drink on those days. In fact, if anything, it's somewhat promoted. If anything, like not to get. Obviously, it's very clear in Christianity you don't want to get overly drunk. That's not the point. But you're supposed to be drinking. It's a holiday, and these are the sort of things that. I don't know. There's nothing in the church that says you're not supposed to drink on those days,
Behold the blood of Christ.
Yes, I mean...
Yeah, basically, so I can tell you that if you, in a lot of Anglican churches, and I'm sure in some Catholic ones as well, taking communion, there will most likely be two lines, and one is for the grape juice, and the other is for... the wine or the port or whatever it is that it happens to be. There is most definitely an alcoholic option for communion in traditional...
Thought you were just going to say there is most definitely alcoholics.
The most definitely.
Yeah.
But to say that we can't do it, we can't drink on those days because of Christian values, Christian traditions is a bit of a stretch, I think, of course. But I mean, going to the store maybe and over purchasing and over drinking, that's for sure something we don't want to happen. But we don't want it to happen anytime. It's not just on those days,
And I think that's the problem, is that the people who do have a problem, the people who are showing up at emergency rooms on Christmas Day because they've overdone it, are not doing it in a licensed premises. Yeah. If you're doing it in a bar, at some point that bar has a legal obligation to step in and say, like, you cannot have any more, you're not okay, let's get you home, they will cut you off.
Yeah.
The problem once again comes down to people who are stocking up and I'm making some very big generalizations here, but they're looking for the cheaper mass-produced alcohol that is bought to get them from A to B, as opposed to supporting a craft spirits producer and enjoying a couple of tipples at home.
Absolutely. And we have all worked behind bars. Like Tom and I have our duty managers, and it's just drummed into us. You have to cut people off.
Even if there's like a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah,
you know?
there is so much responsibility there. So
it's on us personally, not just the bar. It's it comes back to us personally. No bartender wants that fine or to lose their their duty managers or anything like that. So that it is a safer environment than just Anyway, listen. Before we go on, maybe we should drink something because we've been talking now for a little while.
We have,
and this is a spirits podcast.
It is. And given that we have just had ANZAC Day, I want to do a shout out here. This is the Arctic Convoy gin from Dunedin Craft Distillers. My grandpa was in the Royal Navy, and he turned 18 in 1942 and signed up. His home life was a little problematic, and he decided that the best thing to do would actually be get out of that. Somehow joining the Royal Navy in the middle of the Second World War was the least problematic of those options.
Oh dear.
And at this point, as I've trying to explain to my kids, the Soviet Union, the Russians, they were the good guys at that point, and we wanted very much to keep them in the war.
Love that.
And so what Winston Churchill and the Allied forces, they were sending large convoy groups to the Soviet Union with food, munitions, money, supplies, everything that they would need to keep the Eastern Front open and keep the Nazi forces divided. As you can imagine, sailing into the Arctic Circle is problematic at the best of times.
Cold
Is an understatement. My grandpa told stories of when he was off duty, still you had to chip away at the ice forming on the railings on top of the ship, otherwise it would get top heavy and you'd capsize. That's how cold.
Pretty terrifying, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Not to mention throwing in mines, submarines, everything else that's trying to blow you out of the water.
Well, they even mooted the idea of making ships out of pipecrete, which is literally ice and sawdust for the Arctic convoy.
They actually did make them. They just realised it wasn't going to work yet.
So I am a member of the Arctic Convoy Club, which is, there are very few veterans left these days, but it's a remembrance. And so the club reached out to Jenny at Dunedin Craft Distillers, and Dunedin Craft Distillers, they make spirits out of upcycled bread products, so they're reducing bread waste. Every bottle of this sold, 10% of the profits go to the Malahan Institute for Medical Research.
Oh, fantastic.
So this is a great... Now, this is me being very picky and very finicky. The Arctic Circle is in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. You saw me looking.
What are those on the label there?
I'd presume they're puffins if it's the Northern Hemisphere.
Those are very pointy-beaked puffins.
Is it a starfish too?
Very may well be a starfish. So this is being very, right next to that
Right to the polar bear, yeah.
are a couple of penguins who would be very lost if this was indeed the Northern Hemisphere, North Pole.
That's all right.
So, 54.5%. With,
Here's to the Anzacs.
Here's to the Anzacs and Allied forces, everybody who's served New Zealand. Ingredients here, we've got juniper, coriander, New Zealand honey berries, and then, I think very apt, limes and sea salt.
Can I have a look?
Sure can. For me, it's it doesn't bite you as a Navy strength gin on the nose. It's quite approachable.
It is, yeah.
equally, even if you're just reading the ingredients there, when you nose that, it is fairly... Safe isn't the right word, but there's nothing in there that kind of screams like we're doing something weird or out there for a unique kind of one-off limited style gin. I like the idea of including the limes and the sea salt. Sea salt for the sea, obviously. Limes because serving in the Navy, you were quite often called a limey because the British, they had limes as a way to ward off scurvy. So very, very traditional, very classic kind of dry gin. And
that bit of sea salt actually kind of comes through, and it is really, really approachable. But I would still say it sort of hits that Navy strength, the more approachable Navy strength profiles, that we've had. I think if you gave that to me, I might guess it was a Navy strength just on the nose, but not because of the alcohol content, more just because of what the kind of profile Navy strengths give.
The volatiles just...
Yeah. But it's lovely, actually. It's really easy to drink and
wakes up with a little bit of water.
Yeah.
That lime, the lime and the sea salt does come through right on the end. Has a hint of sweetness. It's quite warming.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly not... I like that they haven't gone overboard on botanicals. I like that it's kept quite classic, and this would be anybody that drinks any kind of classic dry style gin. You'll enjoy this, and you'll know that if 10% from each bottle going to the Malahan Institute for Medical Research, and of course it is reducing food waste with what Jenny and the team is doing at Dunedin Craft Distillers. I highly recommend that you go out and get one.
So it is available currently still?
Yes, it is available currently still. They've said it will probably be a seasonal release.
Oh, nice.
That will come out each April around ANZAC Day.
Yeah.
So not likely to form part of their core range.
Yeah.
So as a batch, you can see this is batch 1.
Yep.
And I got a couple of bottles. It was so it's smaller than their typical bottlings. It is a 500ml as opposed to a 700ml. So you're paying about $80 for a 500ml bottle. It is up there, but I guess you offset that by saying it's 54. So you should.
Yeah, I mean,
theoretically use less of it.
Yes, exactly.
At any time.
No, I think it's good. I think that's not a bad price either for that. It's not too bad. Well done, team.
And especially with 10% going to the medical research, like as people all involved in the liquor industry, we'd be much happier if more of the excise tax went to medical research.
Oh, 100%.
But we're not going to get into this podcast.
That's a different topic for a different day. I would like to talk to Jenny about this because I want to know how... So there's a very small group of veterans left in Wellington, mainly, living in around Wellington. How they got in touch with a distillery in Dunedin. I was not... party to this arrangement or the agreement. I just got an email from the club to say this is about to come out, stay tuned. And so I would love to know how this partnership, how this bottle came about. I'm sure there's a great story, and I would really love to talk to Jenny and Dunedin Craft Distillers more about it, because I
might
think
be a good connection there. Absolutely.
Right, okay, back to traditional New Zealand values, traditional Kiwi values. I think it gets really complicated when you start using that kind of language. But it's really interesting to me, again, if you go back and listen to our episode about liquor licensing laws, those kind of sanctity of the celebration, those were the same arguments being made back in the 1800s when these restrictions were brought in. And I think back then I was saying, like, why is it that New Zealand ended up with restrictions around the sale of alcohol when England, Scotland, the people who came over here, those countries have done away with them largely, with the exception of Northern Ireland. But they've done away with them. Why have we held on to them? And I think maybe partly it's because if you were motivated enough to spend 6 months in a leaky boat and come all the way over here, you probably you were a bit more extreme. Wherever you sat on the spectrum, you were probably a bit more of a burning zeal extreme kind of person, and that's what you're bringing over with you. So yeah, I found it funny that talking about respecting Christian heritage and the sacred celebrations, I think I was reading this in 2026. I could have been reading that in 1826, and I think the language is basically the same there.
And I love they say traditional values in the 1880s. You didn't really have that many values before.
I mean, the argument against alcohol just hasn't changed in a long time.
No.
You know? So it's hard to argue against it when also people are drinking less, people are drinking more controlled. I mean, the amount of people that actually come into the distillery and just go, hey, I don't drink. I'm just curious, though. I just want to see how it's made and what it's done. Like, hey, yeah, no problem, But, like, there's a lot of people I talk to who don't drink. They're still curious, though, They like to know about the traditional part of it.
Well, not only that, but that's a topic for another episode, is just New Zealand's binge drinking culture, and that is what they're trying to do away with.
That's hard to get rid of,
Well, a lot of that stems from the fact that there were so many restrictions in the 6 o'clock swill, where everything had closed at 6 o'clock.
Which you mentioned in one of the previous episodes too, Cam. That's that binge drinking culture when we, with that
yes,
time cut off.
That is exactly it. Yeah. So that was closing the bars at 6 was a move by the government to try and, all right, well, if there are fewer hours in the day that we can sell alcohol, then it's going to reduce consumption, and then that's going to... And it had the complete
it totally backfired.
It totally backfired, and I would make a very strong case to say that we are still dealing with that legacy today. Yeah. Really interesting. Again, another subject for another day is the changing attitude with the people who are turning 18, 19, 20 now, and how that generation is drinking far less than previous. And when we talk about problematic binge drinking, we're talking like our generation and older.
Oh, yeah.
And especially, pretty more like generation above us tend to be some of the more problematic ones, as opposed to when people keep talking about the youth, and it's a whole lot less.
The Gen Zs are not doing it. Like I do see a lot of them at the events, and most of them aren't drinking, or maybe their partner drinks, but they don't drink. And if they are drinking, they want something better, like they're just, it's a different crowd now. Yeah. So maybe it is finally getting to a point where it's filtering out, but I assume it depends on demographic, etc.
Yes. And I think to reiterate a point that we've already made, again, I'll quote Kieran McAnulty here, whose bill was that got put forward. To those that hold these days to be sacred, again I say I respect that view. When I go to Mass on Easter Sunday, that should have no bearing on the choice of others. If they choose to go to Mass, fine. If they choose not to, fine. That's entirely their choice. But why should people feel that their perceived views that people should not go to the pub? That's fine. Don't go to the pub, but let's not stop others from making that choice. Also, let's recognise that actually, the vast majority of Christian denominations do not prohibit the consumption of alcohol on those days. We've got to ask the question, why have we got these rules? We will still hold Easter and Christmas Day and ANZAC Day in high regard, and as having a special standing in our society, enabling people to purchase a drink at the pub will not take away from that.
Hear, hear.
So, I mean, we've got to ask the question, why have we still got these rules? Well, Kieran, go and have a listen to our episode about liquor licensing laws. That might clear some of that up for you. I understand some of the objections, maybe less of the moral ones, but certainly those that are talking about harm and increasing access. But I think it's the kind of thing that if you were spending Christmas in a hotel or away from home, or if you were the kind of person that decided, I don't want to cook, and I see that the restaurant down the road has got a lovely Christmas fixed menu kind of thing, let's get everybody and go down there, you were going to have a drink there anyway.
Yeah.
That doesn't actually change that. I think it will be... I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. No. That either you were the kind of person that would go to a bar on Christmas Day anyway, or on, most things aren't open on the morning of Easter Sunday.
No.
So it was kind of, you were looking for somewhere to go anyway, and this has simplified things because you're now not counting calories and working out a BMI to figure out the proper definition of a substantial meal.
I'd be lying on mine anyway.
You got to get a card. You got to go to the you got to go to the government department involved in this. You've got to get weighed. You got to do this every 3 months. By the way, you're going to get a card in the mail, okay? But you can't use it until you get the card in the mail, okay? It's got to be a proper photo ID, but it's also got to be shown with another photo ID.
Yeah. Tom, will you be my reference for it?
Yes. I'm just. You can see already the problems.
And I think for me personally, I'm glad that it's not opening up new stores. I'm glad that supermarkets still get to be closed, that the people who are having a holiday are already having a holiday. The people who are still working, I guess, have fewer rules around how it is that they can serve people and what they're doing. Do we need to have more of a wholesale conversation around the sale and supply of liquor and figure out something at a much larger level? Maybe we need to have that discussion, but I'd want to know more about what that looks like.
Yeah,
2012 was the act. I mean, it's not that long ago, really. Now. So, we've made quite a few amendments to the act in that time already. So, I think it's probably still got a little bit of lifetime left on it, but I'm sure it will come up because I think the other one before that was the 70s, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a fairly long. Maybe it was the 90s.
Oh, yes, I don't know, but it's these things usually have a pretty good lifespan, and you can amend them for a while before it becomes we need a total overhaul of the Alcohol Act.
This is how we know we're old. A, because we're doing a podcast, but B, because we look back and go, 2012, that wasn't that long ago, was it?
Yeah. And I'm like, the 90s, it was just 10 years ago. It's totally fine. Totally fine. It's not fine.
I know.
But I feel if you start arguing, this isn't a topic for this podcast, but if you start arguing the traditionalist values of things, a lot of that is just made up. It's how you want to perceive the past as being, and we're seeing a lot of that worldwide at the moment. Not singling out any countries in particular, but that is not a topic for us. But we will stick to the things that we can actually put facts and figures on.
Yeah, exactly. And is changing the access in a licensed premises, is that going to stop the people who are buying in bulk the day before to make sure that they have enough to get through the day and then over consuming in the privacy of their own home? Case in point, there was a local brewery that made it was a triple IPA or something, triple hazy, whatever. This beer came out at 10% ABV.
Golly.
And I went up and I said, I'll grab a glass. I'll grab a pint of that, please. And he said, I legally cannot serve you a pint. I can only serve you a half pint. And then I said to him, okay, here's my 1.5 litre rigger. Can I have that, thanks? And he says, sure thing. So in a licensed premises, he won't sell me a pint because it's very strong beer. Delicious, but you definitely do not want a whole lot of it. But he will sell me 1.5 litres that I can take home, and where I'm not supervised, where, yes, it's just, that's wild. The people who were going to do this, who have problems, one, are not, I'm going to make, again, big generalizations, they're probably not listening to the Distil-Nation podcast. No. They're probably not wanting to know more about awesome craft spirits like the great people at Dunedin Craft Distillers. Yeah. They're probably not that type of consumer. It needs to become more of a conversation about, what is it that's going to change that kind of behaviour, as opposed to you're the kind of person that was going to a restaurant anyway, you were staying in a hotel anyway, and now you can get a drink that you were probably already going to do.
So not the kind of distillery that makes a barrel every 53 weeks, but the kind of distillery that does a barrel every 5.3 seconds.
Yes, exactly. That's a very, very different kind of economy of scale.
Yeah. Hey, this was cool, Cameron. That was a really good job.
Yeah.
Oh, appreciate it.
I'm really proud of you.
Research.
Oh, look! I was reading.
You get a gold star.
Oh, take it. Reading Hansard transcript, and it was really interesting to see these different points of view. People who I support this act, but I'm still voting against it, or
the conscience votes are really good.
Conscience votes are, or again, there was the member of Parliament for Mangere who said, personally, I support this, but my constituents have contacted me and are overwhelmingly against. This is the parts of West Auckland that are covered by a
the trust,
by a licensing trust, and so they were overwhelmingly against. And so she said, "Look, I've got to back my constituents and vote against."
Fair enough.
So reading the reasons there was some I can, even if I disagreed with them, I still. Really interesting seeing those different points of view. But again, I still think it is fascinating that when it comes to, when does Parliament have these conscience votes? Why is alcohol treated so differently compared to anything else that comes up in a member's bill or something along those lines?
Like you're saying, the online gambling is going to be party lines, which is quite interesting. That seems more like a conscience vote to me, but interesting.
You won't find me standing for politics anytime soon.
No way. Yeah, it seemed so good when we were young, but then now it's, once you grow up and look at it. No, thank you.
All right, Tom, take us home.
Hey, thanks for listening, everyone. This was really fun. You can always contact us if you have any questions, opinions. Sure, we'll have them. Let's hear them, and we can always talk about them again in the future. Distil-Nation.nz. You can contact us at distilnationnz@gmail.com or at distilnation.nz on all our socials. Cameron's been booted off TikTok, so you can't reach him there anymore.
No, we'll cover that next.
Hey, cheers, guys. This was really cool. Cheers to the ANZACs. Cheers.